studying for a master's in education.
I'm studying to be a nurse. I'm studying to be a nurse.
There's nothing more to discuss then. You're free to go. Yeah. And I was like, hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, my name is Summer. And to those of you that keep coming back, hello and welcome back. If you're new to my channel and you've never subscribed, just to quickly remind you, click the red sign there that says subscribe, and after that click the bell sign so you will get a notification whenever I upload the video. So today I want to share with you guys how I was kicked out of college. In Nigeria we would say university, but here it's called college. So but it's the same, so it's just the way they call it over here. So yeah, how I was kicked out of college and how I was able to go back and get my degree. So after I came into Ireland, I had to wait for a while and you know the way you have to wait to get your documentation and everything. So I waited to get documented. When I say documented, is like to get my green card. I was waiting for my green card. So as soon as I got my green card, all I wanted to do was just do something with my life. I just wanted to do something with my life. I applied to do nursing. So in Ireland there's something they call matured code. If you're over the age of 23, I think 23 or 25, I can't remember now, you can apply to go into do nursing as what they call matured code, and you have to do a written test. So like there's a bit of English questions there, like maths and calculations there, and I think there's something else now. It's a long time ago, so I did my exams, and what you hear all the time is, oh, you may never get general, you need a lot of points to get general nursing, it's impossible to get general nursing and stuff like that. But anyways, I wrote my exams, I did everything, I had all the points I needed, like I had very good points to go in to do general nursing. So I was delighted, I was so happy that I was going into college. Now I chose this college, I talked about it in one of the videos. I chose this college because it was the nearest college to my house. You know, I didn't know anything else, and this college in the whole of Ireland is the college you need the most points to get into, and that's the college I chose. So, and I got enough points and I went into this college. So started off this college, and then I didn't know it was a big deal until, you know, I was speaking with one of my neighbors, and I was like, Mom, I'll be starting college. And she was like, oh yeah. She was like, oh really? She was like, what college? And I was like, oh, Trinity College. And she kind of looked at me like you mean the Trinity College? I was like, yeah. She was like, are you sure? And I was like, yes. So she was kind of surprised, and I was like, what's wrong? She was like, oh my goodness, do you know many people who try to get into Trinity College? Trinity College is the best college in Ireland, you know. Oh my goodness, like Trinity College is the college a lot of, you know, dignitaries and famous people. It was like, wow, like, are you Trinity College? And then she was like, what course? Like, and I said, to do nursing. She was like, what? Like, she was in shock. So I didn't place that much. Maybe I didn't realize, I just didn't realize it was such a big deal. And that was how I went into start my general nursing in Trinity College, my BSc in nursing. But anyway, so I went in to start nursing, and I went into college and I was loving it. I was absolutely loving it. And I was like, I think 31, I think I was 31 then. So that is over 10 years ago I went to do nursing. I went to the bank, I took a loan, and I was paying the bank slowly. Everything started all right, you know, everything was okay. I started off and I took the loan from the bank, and the bank loan was I had to repay in 3 years. But what I did was I took this loan, and then I found out that there's a nursing there's a nursing agency that employs student nurses to work as care assistant, like assistant to nurses. I applied to the agency and I started working. I was working, like I could work the weekends, and I was working the weekends, and I was working like during the summer breaks. So, but like I sort of kind of like working around like my schooling. Like I take the loan that I'm meant to pay back in 3 years, I pay back in 1 year. That's what I was doing. So if I remember right, I think the first year my fees were like 7,000 plus. So I kind of worked and paid it off in the year. And then I took another loan for second year, and I did the same thing, and I paid it off, boom, in the year. And then everything was going okay, like everything was going okay. I was loving it. And then I actually employed what they call au pairs. Some people say au pair, some people say au pair. So it's AUPAIRS. AIR. Typically, they're actually just young girls, typically, that are from other part of Europe. They could be any part of the world anyways, but I found it easier to get the European girls because they don't need like visas or whatever. They could just come. So basically, you get these people in, you give them one room in your house, you feed them, you give them pocket money, and what they do is they mind your children from Monday to Friday. My children went to school nearby. This girl was minding them, taking them to school and bringing them back and stuff like that. But like this, I had over the time of my over the 4 years of my nursing, I had different girls. Like they normally come for like a year or 6 months or whatever. So I kind of like had different girls I think in total I had about 3 or 4 different girls. So this basically, they come into Ireland to study English, like a German girl, Spanish girls, you know, those people that need to come and they don't have English, they come to Ireland and they go to like weekend schools, or they could go to weekend schools or night schools or stuff like that. So by night I'm already back home, and then they can go to school. So that was how I was working, 1 night or 2 nights at the weekend, and then I worked the whole of the summer to make money to pay my minder, to pay off my student loan. So it went well. First year was a breeze. I did so well in my first year general nursing. I actually got a first class book prize. My result was very good. Like I was loving it. I was like, you know, flying. I absolutely loved it. And then second year went perfect, results good, everything okay. Third year, I have to be honest and say it wasn't easy at all. It wasn't easy. Basically, I had no free time. Going to school and working, and stuff like that. It was really hard. And like I had no money on myself. I didn't have money for myself or for most of the things that I wanted to do. All my money, I spent all my money on basically my fees and providing for my family, and then paying my minder. Like I remember sometimes my minders would just, there was one girl in particular, she would go to the shops and she would buy clothes, and she would come and be like, oh my goodness, look at this dress, look at this. And I'll be looking at her like, I'd be looking at her because I know she has no money. It's the money I'm giving her that she's using to buy these things. And I'll be looking at her like, that's my money. Like I was working that hard that then she's spending this money, and I'm looking at like, that is my money. This girl is, I know it's no longer mine. Once I pay, it's no longer mine. But I'm looking at it like, that's my money. Like this girl can afford all these things and I can't. And I'm the one paying her. Like it was hard. It was really hard. And then came to third year. And there was a problem in Ireland. There was a problem with the banks. There was a problem with the economy. There was a problem with everything. And then the bank refused to give me a loan. Even though my previous student loan for the year is all paid up. They said the rules have changed because my account was what they call undergraduate account. So it was like a student account. Because I have a student account, the new rule says, or the new rule says that I can't take a loan. No more loans for students, or else I have my parents to be my guarantors. My dad is dead. My mother cannot pay my loan. And don't forget, a lot of people that are students are actually in their like 20, 19, 18, 20, whatever. They can be going to parents to sign for them. I was in my 30s, and you know, the system doesn't recognize that I'm in my 30s. I'm not a girl like to go to my parents and say I want come and sign as my guarantor or stuff like that. So I was stuck. Like I was stuck, and nothing I said worked. And I said, but look, I'm not owing. I've always paid up my loan on time. Like I take loan to pay back in 3 years, but I was paying them back in 1 year. And I was like, look, I have never owed. I've always paid my loan. They're like, no, the new rule. The people at the bank are like, we didn't make the rules. This is what it is. We can't give you. We understand all of this. Yes, you don't owe. Yes, you've only paid up way before the 3 years, but this is the new rule. You know, see if you can get a guarantor. Who's gonna be my guarantor? The whole year I spent paying off my loan and making sure I paid my minder. So I had no money, like I had no other way. And I was hoping, I've always kind of got my loan, so I wasn't worried. I was like, yeah, I gotta take my student loan and I would pay. And the bank was like, no, you're not gonna get a loan. You know, and the student account was actually handy because when I was taking loan, my interest rate was very low because it was a student account. So that was handy then, but now I was stuck. I didn't know what to do. Third year almost finished. I know I asked few people that I knew, can you give me a loan? I'll pay you back. You know, everybody's like, no, I don't have any money. I don't have anybody went to. I went to my church. I went to my pastor and I said, can you sign for me as a guarantor, you know, to take student loan? I'm not even gonna go there. Well, I got no help from my pastor, and I was like, God, what is this? What is going on? Like, I have nowhere else to go. Please help me. Like, you know, I know we live in a world where people don't believe in God anymore. I still do. I still believe in prayers and stuff like that. I was crying my eyes out, and I was like, I've put so much of my finance, my effort, my energy, everything into getting a degree so that I can finally get a job. And you know, and I was like, really, I was devastated. Like, I can't even tell you how devastated I was. I was like, what happens next? I was just like, so I was really upset because I had nobody to go to, I had nowhere to go. And the school kept on writing me letters and saying, your fees were late, your fees are late, your fees are late. And I was just kind of leaving the letter on one side, but I kept on going to school. So meanwhile, I was working and still saving slowly. I have a family member back home that's very, very rich. I reached out to him and said, please give me a loan and I will give it back to you. I promise you, I will give it back to you, you know. And he kind of has promised and was kind of like beating around the bush. I believed him that he was going to send me the money. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to get the money soon. And I would pay. And I would ring and he would tell me, oh yeah, give me your details, give me that details. I gave him everything. And I waited and waited and waited and waited, nothing. And I kept on telling the school, oh, don't worry, I'm going to bring it. I'm expecting money soon. There was nothing I didn't do. I wrote the college emails and I was like, don't worry, I'm expecting money soon, I'm going to pay. And this happened until my first semester, you know, my first semester was over. And I hope my memory is not failing me then. I think then I went on placement. I hope I'm not getting it wrong. I went on placement, and by the time we came back from placement, then the school was like, no. And then I still didn't have this money, but I was doing my placement during the week. And then at the weekend, I was working as a care assistant. I was still trying to save. So, and then when it was like almost like the first week of the last semester, like term. I just hope I'm not mixing it all up now, but it was like I was so late with my fees. I was so late. So, but what I did was, the school told me I was no longer allowed in school. But I was still sneaking into school. I didn't care. I kept on going into attending my classes. I kept on attending classes. I kept on submitting my assignments. And these lecturers do not know. The lecturers do not know that the school has kicked you out. I was basically told you're out. I was officially written and said you're not a student. Your name is off the records. You're no longer a student. You know, because your fees are, yeah, that's it. I was no longer a student. I'm not going to cry in this video. I'm not going to cry. So like, you're no longer a student. No, that's it. Like, I got official email, official letter, everything. You're no longer a student. You haven't paid your fees. Well, this man that is, he was the year head or something like that. Coordinator or something, coordinator or something like that. I can't remember what it's called or whatever. This man would come into the class and he would come into the class, and every time I saw him, I think he was teaching one of the models. You know, I think he was teaching one of the models. Anytime he came in, I would just sneak out. Anytime I saw him, I would just leave, because he has called me once. One day he came into the class and called for me. And I went to we have a big, like, I call it the stage, you know, the platform where they did the lectures from. And he called for me and I came out and I went and met him outside. And he said, let this be the last time I have to tell you this. You're not a student of this college. I don't want to see you in this school ever again. And I see that you have been signing yourself in. And he was like, no more. And he was like, I have seen you submitted assignments. He said, you know, you submit assignments, because the lecturers that were trying to score me couldn't find me in the records or something like that. So they kind of got through to him, and he was like, you were submitting assignments, you shouldn't be submitting any assignments, you're not a student of this college. This let this be the last, because he has said it to me several times, email and everything. And then he said to me on this day, he was like, let this be the last time I have to say this to you. You're no longer a student in this college. You are not in the records. Stop coming here and stop submitting assignments. And I just walked, after he said that, I just went, grabbed my bag, and I started walking home. And I was just upset. I was just crying. I was in bits. I just felt like, you know, I felt like I've worked so hard, you know. I was just like, I've worked so hard. I've done everything to get a college degree. I have done everything. Like, why did this happen? What is going on? I just felt so, like, you know, the way you felt like you have nobody, like you have nobody to go to. It just dawns on you that you actually have nobody. Nobody's to help. Nobody's ready to help you. Like, I went to everybody, the pastor of my church, friends, and my uncle in Nigeria that I thought was gonna, he was actually not my uncle, he's a cousin, but he's much older than me. And you know, I at that minute I felt so alone. I felt like I had nobody, and I was like, all it takes is just money for me to pay my fees, you know. And you see, because I wasn't an Irish citizen then, that's why I'm paying that amount of money, because I know some Nigerians that had their citizenship didn't have to worry about fees like I was. Like, they didn't have the worries. But because I was not an Irish citizen yet, I was just with my green card. That's why I had to pay all that amount of money. So I was just walking home. I just felt like so sad. I was so sad. I really wanted to get this college degree, and I was so sad, and I was loving it, that I was doing well. I was, you know, really, you know, enjoying it, and this had to happen. I just was walking home and I was crying. So I was walking home, and my friend, shout out to Linda, shout out to Linda, she watches my channel too. So I had this friend, she's actually a Benin girl, a young girl. She was a young girl. She came into college from secondary school, but I was a matured code, so she was much younger than me. So I'm thinking it'd be like 10 years or something between us. So she rang me, and when she rang me, I was walking home, she rang me, and what's up, what's going on? I was like, now I'm gonna cry. Now I'm gonna cry. So and then Linda rang me, and she was like, oh, what's wrong? You know, what's wrong? Where are you going to? I saw you leaving. Why are you leaving? I didn't want to say anything, and she was like, yeah, I said, I'm gonna be honest, I've seen the way you kind of leave the class all the time. You always leave in the class, and it's quite unlike you. What is really going on? You know, I've been wanting to ask you what is really going on. And oh god, and then she was like, oh, what's really going on? This is quite unlike you. You don't miss lectures, but I've been seeing you leave all the time, and what is going on? What is going on? So I just opened up to her, and I was like, I have no money to pay my fees, and I've been told to leave, and stuff like that. And like, and then you see, I never felt Linda was gonna help me, because I looked at her, oh, she's just a young girl, you know. I just what I thought. I was like, oh, she's just a young girl, she has her own fees, you know, she has her own fees to pay as well. Looked, it never crossed my mind to ask Linda for help, never. And then she said to me, she was like, I actually have this money I set aside. I've been saving up to go to Nigeria next year. She said, but I can actually let you use the money, and then you can pay me back when you have it. She said, I have this money somewhere, I have 1,000 euros. And I was like, 1,000 euro wasn't what I needed, but you know, for her to have volunteered, like, you know what I mean, I was moved. I was really moved. And she was like, yeah, I don't know, but this is all I have. I can let you have it, give it back to me when you have it. And I was like, oh my god, thank you so much. You know, at this time I was already saving, because I was already saving up to, because now the problem I now had was, normally you can pay in installments, two installments, but because my money was so late, I couldn't pay installment anymore. I was asked to bring everything, because the second installment was due. And then when I contacted school records, I think that's what it's called, it's a long time now, school record office or whatever they call it, said because it was so late, I had to pay lateness fee, re-registration fee. There was just so much piled up. And so even though I was saving, my money was not enough, because I didn't have enough to pay the whole lot. So when she gave me 1,000, I took that and I kept it. And then I went to work. The part-time job I was doing, there was a carer there that's in Nigeria, and I said to her, please, I've never asked you for anything like this. I'm really stuck. You wouldn't mind, you know, just give me a loan to, you know, I'll give it back to you. And I told her I will pay you back 500 euros every month, you know, to pay it off. And she was like, okay. She was like, yeah, no problem. She was like, yeah, no problem. And she gave me that loan as well. I'm going to touch on something here as well. This is one thing I want to talk about, is tribalism in Nigeria. I've never in my life been tribalistic. Like, I don't care what tribe you are. I'm at home with anybody. I don't even care what race you are, whatever. But let me talk about Nigeria. I don't do tribes. I grew up in Benin. Like, I grew up in Benin. Once I meet a Benin person, if I meet somebody from Edo, I feel like, oh my goodness, that's my brother, that's my sister. I grew up there. Like, I love Yoruba culture. I love Yoruba, you know, language. I love everything. If you come and you tell me you're Yoruba, boom, I don't do tribalism. Everybody, but if I was tribalistic, right, and I didn't have all these friends, the two friends that actually helped me, I have to really say this, the two friends that helped me, Linda and Tina. Shout out to Tina. She watches my channel. She watches my channel as well. And Tina gave me, I think she gave me like 2,000 euros. Yeah, Tina gave me 2,000 euros. Linda gave me 1,000 euro. And I just, if you guys are watching, I know I've said thank you a million times, but I just want to use the opportunity to say I would never forget what you guys did for me, because it's possible I wouldn't have been able to finish school if you guys had not helped me. So they are people that I really appreciate. So yeah, I know you guys watch my channel. I'm just gonna say thank you so much, because I don't know what would have happened if the two of you did not help me. My student credit card has had the maximum of 2,000. I took that as well, and I just piled everything together, and I went and I paid my fees. And I was so scared that they're going to say, oh, it's too late, you're not going to be allowed to pay. And I was so scared. And I remember going to the fees office, and they were taking forever, and I was panicking that they're going to tell me, no, it's too late to come back to college, it's too late, you're not going to be allowed. And the guy was like, no, I can't see you on the records, you're not even on the records. I was like, yeah, there was just a bit of problem because I was waiting for my fees, so but that's why I have to pay a registration fee. And I kind of was like panicking and everything. And then he rang the student records, and it was just ringing, and I was just like, it all, after all the, you know, this is the final stage, it boils down to this now, if these people are going to sort me out or not. And finally they sorted me out, and they said, okay, your fees are paid now. And I paid everything, and I gave them my receipt. On that day, they already, on that day, there was meeting arranged. The year head, the adult education coordinator, all the big whatever, they all were kind of like, they organized the meeting. My personal tutor, there were about 5 of them. They were having a meeting with me, because I wrote the school an email and I pleaded with them, give me time to pay this money, give me time. So they planned that on this day they were going to have a meeting with me, and I just knew in my heart that the meeting was to tell me, because what they advised me was to take the year off. They told me, take the year off and go and make the money. I didn't want to take the year off because the year was almost over, and I felt like I was almost done. All I had to, like, imagine going backwards, the whole year was wasted if I took the year off. So I remember on that day I went and paid the fees, and I was running down to this meeting, and I was praying, God, please God. And I got into the meeting, and they were all sitting, and I just walked into the meeting, and I said to myself, I'm not even going to let them speak, because if they tell me already you're not allowed to come back in, I just didn't want to. But I walked in there, and it didn't look good. Like, they didn't look, I just knew, I knew in my guts that it was a meeting to tell me you can't come back to school. Like, before this day, my personal tutor had already told me that the only option is that I have to take the year off and take the time to go make the money. I was running down to this meeting, and I ran down there. I was breathless, I was everything, and they were all sitting like this, and I was sitting opposite them like that. They were sitting, and I was sitting opposite them, and I sat down. I was like, hello. I was talking about, like, I was just like, I was shaking inside, because I was like, I hope they won't tell me we don't care, just go, you know, take the year off, you know, because because I was submitting assignments that I was not supposed to submit, and then they told me that my assignments were not going to be marked. So they may be like, no, your assignments are not marked, because they called me to come and collect my assignments. I refused to go collect my assignments. So, and I was like, you know, they may say, no, your assignments are not marked, it's too late for you to go on, like, whatever. So as soon as everybody sat down, I didn't even let them speak. Before they could say anything, I just said, before you guys say what you want to say, I really want to apologize. I'm really sorry for everything. You know, I said the reason I kept on coming is because I knew that the money was on the way. I'm really sorry for, you know, all the confusion and everything. I said, I'm really sorry. I said, but I was just a bit stuck. I was expecting money, the money never came, and I was like, I just want to let you guys know I've paid my fees, and this is my fees, I just paid it today, blah blah blah. I just wanted to jump in and say everything before they would say anything. And what's it called, and then what is she called now? I don't know what she's called. She's like a big boss. She was like a big boss of the nursing. I mean, the nursing part of the college. I never heard her say, "Oh, you paid your fees?" She was like, "You paid your fees?" I was like, "Yeah, I paid my fees." And she said, "Well, if you paid your fees, what are we here? What are we here for?" Like, she was like, "Well, if she's paid her fees, I have nothing else to say. There's nothing else. Well, guys, what do you?" I said, "I just paid." I was like, "I literally just paid my fees now. Like, this is." And she was like, and I said, "This is my receipt here." And she was like, "Let me see." She was like, "Oh, well, she paid her fees. You know, there's nothing more to say. There's nothing more to say." She was like, she turned to all of them. I was like, "Oh, she's paid her fees. If she's paid her fees, I have no objection in her continuing." And I was like, I couldn't breathe. And, does anybody have an objection? And everybody like, "Oh, no, like that." And that is a sign that meeting was an objection, saying I have no objection in her continuing. So they came there to tell me I couldn't continue. But my year coordinator, whatever he was called, he had taken it. I have to be honest and I feel like he had taken it personally, because he kept on telling me to come back to class and I kept on coming back. I think he was too annoyed at this point. He was the only one that didn't. I felt like he was still too tense. He never relaxed about it. But anyways, and they were like, no, that's it. If the meeting was over, there's nothing more to discuss. Then you're free to go. Yeah. And I was like, and that was how I was able to get back and then, finish my degree. But what happened then was I worked so hard. Because I had to pay off all this money I was owing, and I was working so hard to save for the final year, because it was 4-year course and this was the 3rd year where I got stuck. I worked so hard to pay off all my loan. I worked so hard to save for the next year. I worked so much that I didn't even study anymore, because I couldn't study. I just worked and worked. I couldn't study. Like, I would go to work sometimes, and on my days off from college, I would go to work sometimes I was so sleep deprived, I was so tired, but I was going to work. Because I needed to make the money. I remember going to work sometimes with a massive headache because I was exhausted. And it was the day I went to work, I was so unwell, like I was exhausted. And I went to work, and even though I was tired, I didn't want them to know I was tired, because I was afraid they would send me home. And I just stayed, and the next thing I had like the worst headache in the world. The next thing I was vomiting, and I was told to go home. And I was like, no, they said go home, because I didn't care that I was sick. I was just trying to make the money to pay my fees and save up for the next year and still look after my family. And I worked so hard, and my grades started to drop. Like, I actually failed one of my papers. I think, yeah, that year I failed one of my papers. I had to resit it. If you fail your paper, you're allowed to resit it. If you don't pass that, you can go on. I had to resit. But I actually ended up finishing college with, what did I get? 3rd class. I ended up finishing college with a 3rd class because I wasn't studying. How am I going to study when all I was doing was work? I worked so hard to make the money. I worked so hard because yeah, my life has not been easy. I know some people just, there are people that do not know, and they think you went abroad and everything just went smoothly. You have no clue. I went through hell to get a degree. I went through hell to get my degree, but I'm grateful that I got it. The reason I'm sharing this is I found that I'm getting a lot of people write me and say, "Oh my goodness, your story inspires me. When you share that story, it inspired me." And I just thought to myself, why not? It cost me nothing to share my story. If it inspires people, why not? And the people that keep telling me, share more, tell us more. Somebody wrote me the other day, I would be like, there's so much about your life that kind of like are so inspiring, and can you please share more? And I keep getting messages like, can you share more? Or even comments, people telling me to share more. I believe in prayers. I believe that, God saw me through, and at the same time, it is nice to share stories like this to just motivate somebody, no matter how tight your situation is, or no matter where you are at the moment, or how your struggles are, just to know that there can be a light at the end of the tunnel. So I just hope this inspires you guys as well, and thank you for always coming back and watching my videos. Until the next time, guys, bye bye.
goodbye, friend.